Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, not too bad. Just having fun finding a whole bunch of old boxes of stuff. I found the boxes of my old Game Boy Pocket from
Right, yeah.
1996 or 7.
Old stuff.
And
That's awesome.
I found my old Game Boy Color. It still had the Pokemon Gold in it.
Pokemon
Unfortunately,
Gold,
the
yeah.
battery in the actual cartridge ran out, so I don't have my saved. So I got to figure out a way to get it back.
For
So
sure. Well,
it's
you
gonna
can
be
always
fun.
find that online, I'm sure. But yeah. Yeah, welcome back everybody to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast, season 4, episode 9, Future Stock. Please like and subscribe if you like hearing and talking all things Futurama. And today we have our special guest star. He was able to make it. Andrew, welcome back. How you doing?
Hey boys, good. Glad to be back. Mitchell, I think there's special kits online now that you can get to save that game.
I guess I looked up some very quick videos and stuff like that, and just it's a little processing like computer science. I'm just like,
Yeah, it's
maybe I'll do it, maybe it
possible.
won't.
Yeah, it
It's
looks
not
like
like
a
I
whole
need to
ordeal.
know. Yeah,
It is a
I
whole
don't need
ordeal,
I don't
but
need to do this, but again, I would like to see it. I don't
Can
need
can
to
you
see
put
it.
can you put a price on a child's wonder though?
I
yes.
still have it, so no.
Any case, yeah, we have our opening caption. Love it or shove it. I like it. It's super easy, nice and go get to the point. This kind of thing seems like something Bender would say. So we open up on a completely different environment. Never seen this before in an episode, as far as I can remember. But we open on something called the Logitorium Comfort Dome Inn. Right, play on all the fun little hotels and everything. Andrew, you'll be going to a
Yeah.
hotel sometime this weekend, right? So
I sure will be. And as a matter of fact, I'm
hopefully
actually
it's a Dome
staying
Inn.
at a hotel quite like this with a conference room and everything.
That's right.
The
What
convention
a
center.
what a perfect episode for you to join us, hey? My favorite portion of this, though, as a visual gag, I really enjoy. Like on the bottom of the sign, it says like for anybody, like they can choose in it's free, either free porn or the Bible. So I thought that was a pretty good visual joke there.
I
So,
didn't even
any
see that.
case,
That's funny.
yeah, the reason that we're at this particular hotel with said conference rooms is because the Planet Express is having a stockholder meeting, which, we don't actually really ever see this again, but it goes to show like how much of the business world and business side of things Futurama actually does have. And we have the whole crew and the old cat lady of Futurama, not to be confused with the old cat lady of The Simpsons. I can't remember, Mitchell.
Same gag though.
Exactly. Do you remember the name of this woman? I keep forgetting. I think we've actually talked about her in the past, but I can't remember her
Hattie
actual name.
McDougal.
Thank you. Perfect. Patty McDougal. All right. So, not that they ever really
Hattie,
say
like
her.
like you wear a hat.
Oh, Hattie. Sorry, Hattie McDougal. Not that they ever actually say her name in the episode, but just for the sake of convenience. So, any case, all of them are there because they all own shares in the Planet Express company. And as they do, they share a video about Planet Express and like their fiscal year and everything like this. Uh, Nothing much to say, I guess. It's just like one of your typical commercials. Anything to add about this kind of commercial there, Andrew?
No, nothing really to add for this one. Just really enjoyed it. So inspiring, right?
Right. I do like every time he has like talk about like, oh yeah, we had like these massive growths, and then one's by successful, or what is it? One giant loss or something. It's just like the ship crashes into the ground. But I think the voice, what is the voice? Is this I always do this. I always guess it's Billy West because he normally does like 80% of the voices on like any of
Yeah.
these people. I'm guessing he's the one that does it. But doing this, like watching this video, makes Fry and Zoidberg, Fry hungry, so he asks Zoidberg to go help him look for some food throughout the rest of the conference. So they leave the room and they're finding these ones. And just as a small thing, they see there's a bat mitzvah, not a bar mitzvah, but like a bot mitzvah, like a robot religion one, which is cool. We get to see this again. And a cryogenic support group, and we'll touch back on this in a second. So we have, after the video, Hermes is explaining to everybody that's part of the conference still that unfortunately Planet Express is not doing very well. And this is talking about like they have all their stocks. And I think what is it, Mitchell? Everybody seems to have 10,000 a piece of this. That's based on here, right?
Yeah, yeah. Roughly.
$10,000.
They show more about it a little later and who has the most kind of thing.
That's right.
But
Yeah. Except for,
yeah,
of course. Yeah. Except for Hattie doesn't have. I think she says, what does she say? She has one kajigger.
Yeah, she's like whatchamacallit, kajigger.
Yeah.
Oh, there's other words she uses in other episodes and stuff. Just like old timey words for like I don't know what it is. Give me that thingy.
Right. So they're all talking about this, and of course, Leela brings up the fact that they have their stocks, and their stocks are unfortunately not worth anything based on how the company is doing. So, as they're doing this and support in the support group, Fry has entered. Zoidberg wasn't allowed in because Zoidberg clearly isn't from a different time. He's not even human. So Fry goes to this. Coincidentally, of course, he's just looking for the food, but it happens to be something he's related to. And there's this whole group of people. What do we have here? The first guy who talks is like a guy who apparently the world was run by carrots.
Something like that, yeah. I think there's actually we meet a girl who also somewhere in the episode there in the seasons
in the
where
past,
there's also
right,
carrots as well.
She talks with I think she and Fry hit it off or something because he goes out with her. But I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
Was that not the episode where Leela found Alcazar, or am I imagining something else?
May have been because they were trying to meet people. Yeah, and she was upset about like looking for someone with her eye or something. Yeah, that was at the hip joint. Yeah, something like this. But then we also get reference to, or not reference, but I guess the actual introduction to that guy, who he does actually have a name. You and I looked this up earlier.
Oh yeah, I forget what it is now.
Gordon Gekko.
Gordon Gekko, basically the Gordon Gekko. Yeah, Andrew, can you do you know any references of this person? Because he's very much this 80s, the hip 80s shareholder, stockholder, Wall Street guy. Like what's his deal here?
Yeah, his name is Steve Castle.
Steve Castle. There you go.
I did not know he had a name, but
he does.
Neither did we.
I don't think it's anywhere in there. Yeah, I think it might be like behind the scenes that he got that name or something like that.
But like if you've ever seen the movie just Wall Street.
Michael Douglas, right?
Yeah, Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen, the first one, yeah.
He's he's a complete copy of Gordon Gekko from Wall Street. Just ruthless corporate raider, which was really big in the 80s. It was just constant mergers and acquisitions, companies taking over. That are just very ruthless consultants taking everything they can from squeezing every bit of value they can from a company.
Right. Which he kind of makes a joke of that in the actual support group, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think in turn in that support group he mentions Boski. So Boski is actually a very famous
Boski, yeah.
Yeah. He's actually a real life very famous corporate raider from the mid 80s. Ivan Boski, who did this shit in real life, just absolutely ruthless madman.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
and what's the other person he mentions? Milken, right? Cookies with Milken or something. Which I thought was.
Don't know. I don't have a reference.
Michael Milken.
Cookies and milk. Michael Milken.
Yep. Mike and Milken, yeah, some guy.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just says that's his name. I don't. I'm on his wiki page and he's got a bunch of stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It just says he's a businessman and financier.
Another financier. Yeah,
right,
makes sense.
Probably another Boski that I should know that I don't.
Another stock guy. Yeah.
He did serve 22 months in prison with a $600 million fine. I don't know what for, but I'm gonna assume it's something to do with business stuff.
I think that's exactly what that guy, or Steve Castle, well, I'm just going to call him that guy for the rest of the episode because that's how we know him and that's what the rest of the crew knows him as. But yeah, that guy is clearly a reference to these things. And I do enjoy hearing about how he speaks and everything. Like, he's actually quite funny. But his main thing is that he froze himself, as he discusses with the support group. He froze himself because he has the disease called bonitis, which to my knowledge is not real. Correct? That's not a real thing. I think they just made it up for the situation of it.
I surely hope not, Anthony.
Like, not to the extent of what happens to him at the end. But bonitis is
there's a whole bunch of bone diseases, but like bonitis, I don't think is an actual term. Yeah. Okay. Because like the signs and symptoms are bone twisting, bone breaking, and bone loss, which is like, I'm pretty sure that there's some diseases out there that have that, but I don't think it's actually particularly bonitis.
And not the way it's described or shown in this episode, right?
No.
We'll get to that at the end here. So in any case, he has bonitis, and he was going to try and cure it, and there was a company apparently that was very close to it, but he was able to buy the company and sell off all the assets and make $100 million, therefore not allowing himself to cure his own disease. So money made more sense to him.
Money never sleeps, man.
Exactly. So he ended up freezing himself, as Fry had way back when, but this time in the 80s. So I guess he's actually been frozen longer than Fry. He's actually slightly older than him. But in any case, he's gone through this whole thing, and then Fry kind of, connects with him because they're kind of from the same timeline, or the time frame, I should say. So he introduces him and all this stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Fry was born what, like the
he would
70s?
have been born in the late 70s or the early 80s. So he would have been born around the time, growing up around the time this guy was hitting Wall Street.
Yeah, so I think
he's got to be like 20 years older than him.
Yeah, Fry was about 24, 25ish in the
year 2000.
Yeah, right before he got So he was born like 75, 76. So yeah, he would have been like an 80s kid, like at least in his like early teens kind of thing. So that's when we start to think that, oh yeah, we know stuff kind of thing. Like we're 90s kids, but like we weren't really in our teens till the early 2000s.
He would have been an 80s kid, right? Because he had like all the fun things of the 80s during that time. Like we've seen these in flashbacks
Parachute
with Fry, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, in any case, he takes a liking to that guy and all this stuff, and they kind of hit it off. And then as they're talking, Fry says, "Oh, maybe I can get you a job with my company, with the Planet Express company. They're here or whatever." I do love his awesome to the max. Like I love that 80s callback. So
to the max.
To the max.
Was that just a phrase from back then, or is that an actual quote from something?
I think it's from like a commercial and like a quote of some things. Yeah, like it was just a common expression at the time. Yeah.
So like what up was kind of like a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Fry and that guy. Oh, we also get like a little small thing of a caveman, and they were all talking about how sad it is that his wife is in the
my wife in the British Museum.
Yeah. So it's sad, but it's still a little funny gimmick. I like that. So in any case, the two of them return to the Planet Express shareholders meeting. Right now, it's important to note Zoidberg has not returned, so he's still apparently looking for food, but he's the only one not part of this whole thing. Otherwise, there would have been. Yes, there probably would have been very different circumstances in this episode, so keep this in mind. So they return there, and the rest of the crew are starting a debate about changing the leadership of whoever is the executive of all the stock, basically, of the company, who is in control of the company. As of right now, it's the professor, but he hasn't been doing very well based on everything. So Hermes, because I think it was Hattie who's saying like she wants to have some new leadership, so Hermes decides, okay, well, I'm going to nominate the professor anyway because he's been part of it before. And he sends his nomination in. Leela, Bender, and Amy, as well as the professor himself, all put their shares in, causing the $50,000. All right, or the 50,000 worth of shares, we'll say. Yeah. Now, 50,000 basically makes it half, right? So Fry, who had just entered with that guy, nominates that guy, and Hermes marks it on there because Hermes is all about fairness in this case. He's all about the bureaucracy of it. He loves doing it. So he writes it on
bureaucracy.
There. I know, we all hate bureaucracy, except for Hermes. However, the one person who's still in the room who has a little bit more say on some matters and apparently who's been there for a long time is Scruffy, who happens to own 4 times the amount of shares that the rest of them do. Thus, with Fry's 10,000 shares and Scruffy's 40,000 shares, they're able to make it a tie. They almost have to go back to being the professor because it's the tie, and tie goes to the original owner. However, because Hattie hates the professor due to him insulting her cats, she has the 1 share, which puts it 50,001 for that guy, just topping off the majority. So all of this happens here. What do you guys think? I actually really enjoyed this scene. I think it's quite hilarious. There's a lot of I love Scruffy's like second, and he just keeps on seconding everything.
That's true. I do like his little second. Well, I might ask about the math later about the shares, because we'll figure out later that Zoidberg has a lot of shares, but is it more than what's there at the moment?
He has majority. So for the people who voted, yeah, because we don't know about Zoidberg yet, but for the majority of the people, or for all the people who are there, Zoidberg owns half of what they have. How about you, Andrew? Anything to add with this scene in particular in terms of how they did things? Is this actually how this is done? Have you seen this kind of thing been done before?
Yeah, this is so it's the same on any any board too. Really, like you're always going to be representing other people and other people's interests. So this is 100% how it's done. It's obviously much more technical and subtle these days. But at the end of the day, it's very similar, even down to your scruffy guy seconding everything without questioning anything.
Sure. Just to get the ball moving, kind of thing.
Yeah, let's say keep it going. I got other places to be.
For sure.
Yeah, what a blast. Love. I still love Farnsworth's just initial speech. I think it starts. I don't recognize any of you, and I have no idea why I'm here or something like that. Like that.
And then he's like, move into the light, and then he's like, oh God, I'm dead, and it's like, oh, no matter. He still knows that he has to make this speech or something. Yes, I do enjoy the professor in this episode as well. All right, back at the Planet Express. So this is after, of course, that guy becomes the new head of the company, I guess. Like he's the CEO? Executive, the CEO kind of thing. So he takes over and he's quickly, putting his stamp of it, which is, of course, that of his corporate 1980s situation, right? And he makes the company more businesslike. And because Fry is kind of the one who's brought him into the company and everything, and Fry is kind of closely related to his time, though I think it's also a little bit, he doesn't really say it outright, but I think he can use Fry as a patsy. So I think he's also he brings in Fry to be his vice president or his vice chairman for the company thing, right? And of course Fry is just he's just happy to be moving up the corporate ladder, as he says. So as they go and they're doing all these things to try and understand like how they're going to make the company better, that guy explains that the biggest competition they have is Mom. Obviously, because Mom's conglomeration is not just robots, not just, what is it? What else does she makes like a whole bunch of all these things and everything, oil, all that fun stuff. But she's also a delivery company. So she's the biggest competition, and they're her competition as well. So what they do is they challenge Mom to some kind of, they challenge Mom basically, and she retaliates. And she does this in multiples of different ways, which we can talk about afterwards because they are quite funny how it's done. But over the course of that guy's reign, he explains to Fry that the secret to company success, or any kind of company success, is that of appearances. If it looks good enough, then people will think it's good and they'll invest more and they'll want to use your business more. Unfortunately, he's right. There is a lot of truth to be said about this kind of thing. I think there's like a little bit more tact to it, but basically if you make it look sleek and like idealistic, people will flock to it, right? They'll remember it. I think they also have this what is this commercial of when he demonstrates? He's like, he goes into the Planet Express crew headquarters.
When they rebrand everything.
When they rebrand it, right? And it's still called Planet Express, but it's called PlanEx now or whatever. And they show this commercial.
It's an old FedEx. It's from FedEx.
So it's actually a reference. Yeah. To it. Like I think it's the first Apple commercial. But I love that they rip off the FedEx branding and logo too.
Just rip off a bunch of companies. Yeah. And then like the guy at the end, he's like the guy just, hey, we were watching that, when it like breaks the screen or whatever, and then that's when the logo comes up and he's like screaming in the background. Yes. So this commercial is to make it look more sleek and everything, but it's highly confusing, and that's the whole point. It's to make people question it, to make people look into it, to make people, intrigued.
Provocative.
Right? Exactly. And what is it's growing the brand or whatever it is, right? Like all these little hot button words for stocks and all these things.
Love the corporate jargon throughout the episode. Shift that paradigm, boys. Shift that paradigm.
And thank you, and Andrew, because you're not yourself portion or part of this particular industry all the time, but you know a little bit more about this. Hence why I wanted you to be on here to have this conversation with us, because you would recognize this kind of jargon. I know it, but I'm like, may not pick it up right away. But yes, this corporate stuff is really good. Any case, here we have Zoidberg and everybody, and I'll get to Zoidberg as well afterwards. But Zoidberg, who I want to also mention, that guy actually likes. He's one of the few characters who actually seems to have a, like, I don't know how to call it. Like, he doesn't despise Zoidberg. He actually kind of appreciates it.
Question.
Yeah, you're a shark. And I love his shark line. But in any case, Zoidberg is angry that the company seems to be going down this whole thing. So he says, I would sell all of my stocks for a sandwich. That guy, he's like right on the ball. He's like, done. Absolutely. Here you go. All of your stock. Doesn't care what it's worth. Here's a sandwich. Mind you, this is a very good deal in any case because, it's going to be worth something. So he gives Zoidberg the sandwich. He takes all of his stock, but he neglects to say how much the stocks are actually worth. Now, Mom, who is sick of the company, doing better, I guess, because of everything with that guy, she goes and confronts them at Elzar's while they are having a small meeting about something. Now, as that guy decides he's going to make the decision making with Mom by himself, he sends Fry off, and Fry is not aware of what's going to transpire. Now, while Fry returns, the crew, the other people, they all confront Fry and say, okay, he's clearly not good for this company. He's using us or whatever. Fry defends him. However, as soon as he does, the call comes in that that guy has decided to sell Planet Express to Mom to gut the company and sell all their shares, and they are basically jobless. All right. This scene is, if you were to watch this episode for the first time, would you not expect that to happen? Like it's pretty telegraphed, right? By basically how he acts and what he does, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy, but it's also like your quintessential 80s corporate raider move. He's there to make money. He's there to just flip things. He's not going to make change. Of course he's going to sell.
Right. He's not there about the idealistic of the company. He's just there to make money. He just wants the money.
Mm-hmm.
Quick and easy money, right?
He doesn't view this company as a source of cheap labor or a
family. Yeah. Nice. So Fry explains to everybody after the news that he doesn't know what happened. He doesn't know why that guy would have done something like this, right? Because Fry is Fry. He trusts people. However, he does say he wants to redeem himself. So we cut to the stock exchange, and this is actually pretty cool. So it's in space. It's like a spaceship kind of thing. It reminded me, I don't know about you guys, but it reminded me about in episode 1 of Star Wars, like the Phantom Menace. It looks like the Trade Federation kind of ship, but it's a little bit more, designed a little bit differently, but it kind of reminds me of this, and trade and everything. It's kind of in space. It's just kind of what struck me. And that movie had come out in 1999, like a few years before the episode aired. So relative in the fact, maybe mind you, they did also pull a Superman thing with Jor-El. But in any case, They're at the stock exchange in space, and Mom and Planet Express crew are going to meet up and to discuss the selling of the company and all these kinds of things with all their assets. So turns out when they're there, the Planet Express crew, who are already there and own stock, have the ability to vote in favor or not to sell the company. And of course, for Mom's side to agree to buy it, right? So Planet Express, basically everybody, because they don't want to lose their jobs and they don't know what it's worth, they decide to say no to the deal. Okay, so everybody has their stocks and everybody has their shares, and it comes up to 49% of the original thing. That's everybody. However, that guy who only owns Zoidberg's shares owns 51% of the company, allowing him to gain majority control of everything. And the only reason for this is because Hermes said that they were useless, and so Zoidberg wanted stuff or wanted toilet paper or something, and just kept giving it to him. So it was nothing. Mom Corp, I also enjoyed this little thing. Yeah, go ahead.
If you look at who's voting, Zoidberg's also voting no. So somehow he got more shares between now and then.
Is he actually voting? Do we see his claw?
Yeah, we see his claw hit no. We see his claw hit no.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's just there for the gag, or that's a continuity error in the story, or just like, just put him in there. Who will notice? We noticed. I noticed.
Well done. Yeah, you noticed there. I was gonna say, because maybe
20 years later.
Maybe he would have hit no, but maybe it had nothing because he just has the remote in his hand. But maybe it doesn't really add up to anything. Maybe. But you're right. That could have been a continuity thing. They should have left Zoidberg out like, oh right, my stock, like I don't have any shares anymore or something. That could have been part of it. So I think that's a good call. Yeah,
that does come in later when he eats his very raw sandwich.
They bring it back. So I think that's probably just an animation error. They probably just got everybody like, these are your notes. Make sure to have everybody hit no on there and watch it happen. But
could have been, yeah.
They just forgot that. Oh yeah, Zoidberg doesn't have shares. He shouldn't be hitting a button. But here we are. I do enjoy this visual gag as well, is that so when Mom Corp decides to vote to buy it and she hits yes, 99.7% of the company is owned by Mom, and each one of her sons owns only 0.01% of it. And okay,
well, for a company that big, they'd still be probably billionaires.
Millionaire, absolutely millionaire. That's exactly it. So that's just goes to show how much Mom is actually worth, right? But what was that last one? What does Ignar hit by accident? Even though there's only 2 buttons. Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Go Pat Buchanan.
Pat Buchanan. Can you explain to the audience who Pat Buchanan is?
So Pat Buchanan was he was many things, but we mainly know him as the politician who cost Al Gore the 2000 election. He was polling in Florida. I can't remember which county specifically, but Florida's ballot at the time was like famous for being very confusing and
which I think it's come up
well laid out.
It's come up in recent terms as well, right? Like throughout the years, it's since that time, right? And so Pat Buchanan, sorry, go ahead.
Like some like not minuscule amount of people accidentally voted for Pat Buchanan who would have voted for Gore. And had those votes been counted correctly, Gore would have won the election.
I see. And so they have that little thing. So they have that little thing that Ignar places Pat Buchanan because then it looks okay.
It was confusing.
It's confusing. That is pretty funny, actually. That's a really good joke. But you know what? It doesn't really age very well, does it? Because it's so old. Anybody nowadays watching it would be like, they'd have to look it up for sure. But for the time, that was pretty good. Awesome. So all 99.8% of, or 98%, sorry, of the Mom Court choose to buy or vote to buy off Planet Express. So it's going to go through, but as they're about to do so, all of them are, complaining about whatever, and that guy has all of the rest of the crew removed because they're being unruly. Okay, and they're all like angry at him. So as they're doing so, Fry begs him, like, hey, can you do something for me? Can you please just stop this deal as my friend? To which that guy says, no, I can't do that. You know why, Fry? Because I'm an 80s guy, and honestly, none of this matters to me. I just want money, basically, from the gist of what he says. So as he's saying this, he starts to, I don't know, how would you describe the situation? His bonitis takes over, but he starts to like go rigid and break and bend and just twist and all these things all uncontrollably. Because it turns out
sound effects really get me.
They're so good, hey? Like it really makes you feel pain for him. But he basically succumbs to death by his bones just twisting him up to die. That's how that guy dies. And his only regret that he had bonitis.
we do actually see him in 2 other episodes. Okay. But one of them I think is a flashback to him. The late Philip J. Fry, the one where they go forward in time 3 or 4 times.
That's right. Yeah, because we
do see him there.
Yeah,
we also do see him in The Beast with a Billion Backs. We see him in the background at a space farm insurance building. So.
Oh really?
I don't know if they're just using it as like, hey, he's still alive kind of thing. Like he got declared dead by Fry, who we know is Fry.
He doesn't always know, right? You know what? You could also say this is a different that guy too, right? Maybe a different timeline or whatever. I mean, time travel exists.
It's such a minor thing.
Such a minor thing.
It's such a minor thing. It doesn't even matter. Like I'm pretty sure if we were to look at that one scene from Over the Wild Green Yonder,
he's there
in the audience. I'm pretty sure we see him there because it's just any character who had a speech that had some kind of line was there. Yeah.
Of course. So after he suffers that horrible fate, Fry, as he is the vice chairman, gains the control of all of his shares and is about to make the call to end the deal because both parties have to be in agreement. However, as he was making his speech and everybody was looking on the screen for this, it turns out the stocks, if Mom Corp were to buy them, were worth at the time right before the end of his speech, I think were worth $114 per share. So if you own
150.
150 is at the very end.
The max.
right at the very end, right when he was talking about the professor, right before he named who the professor was, but right when he brought it all up, right? It was 150 for that, but let's say like the average 114, 115 that was there, or whatever it was. You multiply that by how many shares each person had. Everybody was saying they had roughly 10,000 shares. So they're looking at about $1 million a piece, if that, if they bring it in, right? If they cash out. Now, as he's saying all these things, and you can see the little timer behind, or not the timer, but the counter behind him making all these changes to, how much it is, how less it is. The crew show up and they're like, no, we want to be rich. We want to be rich. We don't want anything to do with the company. We don't want to work for the company. We just want the money. And Fry's kind of disappointed because this is the whole reason he wanted to do this, is because he still likes working with these people. That's what matters to him. So as he's about to say, like, okay, well, I'll close the deal so that you guys can all be rich, it turns out it's actually worth less than when it was worthless. It is now, what was it? 0.03% of every share. Yeah. It's only worth 3 kajiggers. I love that. So, any case, they finish it off, and Fry's like, happy, woohoo, right? No matter what he does, they're poor. So he turns off the deal, so at least they still have their jobs, and says like, okay, guys, great job. We'll see you on Monday, and they all leave very angrily.
Rumbling home, yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. That is Futurestock. Mind you, a very quick version of it, because I wanted to get through it so we have more time to talk about the jokes. I think there's a lot of really good background things in this episode. So, Mitchell, your overall, when we rewatch this episode, what are your thoughts on this one? Do you like this episode?
Yeah, it's good. I love the 80s guy, because you're just like, oh man, he's fun, and then you realize, oh, he's a jerk. So it's just
he's kind of the worst of the worst, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's doing exactly what he does there. Like he goes through and makes things worth more than sells it, so he can get out and get more money.
Absolutely, the future. And what is that? The safety dance, right? It's not as safe as not as safe as they said it was. And how about you, Andrew? What are your thoughts on this episode as a whole?
Yeah, Mitchell really hit it perfectly there. Like it's such a great parody, testament. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's such a great like homage to 80s hubris and like movies like Wall Street and everything that came out of it, like American Psycho to a similar degree, just satirizing and mocking that rah capitalism. Nothing else matters. It's all money.
It's all about the money, right? Yeah.
Great episode. So many good jokes.
So many. I was like, I'll go first just to kind of throw it out there, so it doesn't seem like I'm copying anybody. But like I would throw my MVP as that guy, only because like I know it's only his one episode that he ever really speaks and that we really see him. He's featured, but this he's got to be my MVP for it, because I love his lines. I love like everything he says up in regards to like the shark thing, like when he says like there are 2 types of people, sheep or sharks. Sharks. You want to be a shark because sharks don't have necks. Necks, don't look back.
Can't look back.
Yeah, necks are for sheep. And he does like the little thing about like crossing over his neck as if killing people. They're all like scared by him. I love that he likes Zoidberg because he thinks Zoidberg's gutsy enough to ask him questions and like ask real questions.
Which was the one that people like to hug.
Yeah. Gutsy question. You're a shark. I love that. And then, of course, at the end, when he's like, as a friend, would you mind closing this deal? He's like, for an 80s guy, like I'm an 80s guy, but it means for $2, I'd beat you with a pool cue until your retinas came out. I thought that was hilarious. Like he's such really good, so many really good lines in this. So yeah, I go with that guy. Yeah. Well, with that segue, why don't you guys? What do you guys think about do you have a favorite scene, favorite joke, and your MVPs?
I do like the quote of like, we can't compete when Hermes is like, we can't compete with mom. Her company is big and evil and ours is small and neutral. And then the guy says, Switzerland is small and neutral. We're more like Germany, ambitious and misunderstood. And then Amy's like, look, everyone wants to be like Germany, but we can't really have the pure strength of will or something like that. And it's just,
do we really have the pure strength of will? He's like, I say we do.
Yeah. And it's just another one where the professor like as soon as he kind of like gives up, like I'll ruin you, like I ruined this company, and like do you have a business plan, professor? Yeah, I keep a business plan. Oh yes, I keep it right next to my heart. And he goes to a file cabinet and there's a heart in a jar, and then he gives him the file, And he said, "This isn't a business plan. This is an escape plan." You hear the professor running away in the background.
And we never really see him again until the very
end. A lot of good jokes. No, not really. And then when Fry points him out on the stage there, when he says the professor taught me everything, he's there in a nightgown, a nightcap, and he has bunny slippers on. It's like, why?
I feel like there may have been a scene missing or something where they got the professor from somewhere, but you're right, because it's like, why is he? Because he was in his normal clothes on, like, in the stands, right? Like when they were watching the stage or whatever. But yeah, then suddenly he's in his pajamas.
Yeah, because he's there in his suit and lab coat, and then he's in his pajamas, which he's always in apparently. But this was a nightgown, so yes, I don't know what to believe anymore.
How about you, Andrew?
Yeah, so many good jokes. It's really hard to narrow it down. I love right off the bat, Zoidberg's looking for food and he keeps getting kicked out, denied entry.
No shellfish.
Yeah, no shellfish, and the pig comes up. Hey, tell me about it.
Yeah,
we keep kosher in our bat mitzvahs.
That pig is actually from a
Bisexual
sculptor too, right? From Alcazar's planet as well. That's right. Yeah, it's his friend. Yeah.
Yep. Love that. Love. I think though, like, I think my MVP really has to be Scruffy.
Okay.
Simply because he believes in this company.
I believe in this company. Scruffy
believes in this company.
And that he owned like tons of the shares due to the fact that he believed in that. Yeah. And without him,
at least 30,000.
And without him, this whole thing wouldn't have really happened, right? Yep. Yeah. Because he's the one that seconded everything. No, that's fair. I was thinking Scruffy myself, but I was like, is it enough to justify Scruffy? But you make a good point. Yeah, it's
100% enough to justify Scruffy. But that said, Zoidberg has the best lines throughout the episode, and I think my favorite just it's not like just a passing line, but my favorite non sequitur. Well, not even non sequitur, but once again, the conservative sandwich heavy portfolio pays off for the hungry investor.
Right.
It has to be the best line of the episode.
And then it's like all moldy and horrible. Yeah. Oh man. Yes. No. Zoidberg was also. I had those. Actually, you mentioned all three of my top contestants for who was going to be my MVP. So Mitchell, then did you choose one of those three as well for your MVP or?
Oh, I'd choose Fry just because he really was swept up in it, and then he realized that family is the best thing of all time.
Family. So. Yeah. Right. Before it got popular. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, Fry is also a really good character in it. And there's I'm surprised you didn't mention, Mitchell, like the scene where he's talking with that intercom lady or whatever, but it's not really an intercom. It's just it's like a program, whatever. But he says like, she says like, oh, your 3:00 magician is here or something, and he's like, I have better things to do than laugh and clap my hands.
I do like that one, yeah.
That's a really good line. But then he says like reschedule, like he still needs it in his life. Yeah. So no, I thoroughly enjoy Fry in this. Actually, I enjoy a lot of all the characters that had like major roles in this episode. I thoroughly enjoy, but that guy is just he takes the cake from me. Awesome. All right. Anything else to add about this episode, you guys?
Writing was tight. Just a
Yep.
fun episode.
Mitchell and I were, when we did the last episode, which was Godfellas, we were talking about how the episode is actually really, really good, but there was a lot of little gimmicky, silly things in it that don't make it the best written episode that it could have been, so to speak, because it's a really interesting thing. This episode, I think, is, still funny, but this one has like the tight writing, right? Even though it's a parody of something else, clearly, but it has such better writing to it that I think it's a better made episode than the previous one. So I agree. Very well written. And a lot of really good jokes. Mind you, they're a little dated, but still very well made. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys, for joining me. I will look forward to talking with you guys. And thank you, Andrew, for joining. I know this was like a rushed thing for you, so nice for you to join.
I'm just happy to be here.
And thanks again, Mitchell. As always, next episode, season 4, episode 10, A Leela of Her Own. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day.
Oh, I shall. We'll see. It's nice and cold out.
We'll see, indeed.
Indeed.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.